Language exists from birth, and what is learned is the ability to attach words and structure to the latent ability. Alex Garland. The acquisition and development of language requires both a biological predisposition and a progressive interaction with the environment. The biological predisposition is referred as some innate knowledge of language that requires interaction with others in order to acquire other language structures and develop the ability to communicate. Humans and other animals have a partially biological predisposition to learn a language, meaning that they could be born with the genetical aspects that could background the acquisition of language. In this case, language is a set of spoken, written, or signed words and the way we combine them to communicate meaning. It has been demonstrated through scientific research that chimpanzees and other primates have the ability to learn how to communicate with visual and auditive forms of language. The case of the bonobo Kanzi. This bonobo learned how to communicate using a keyboard of lexigrams that his keepers gave to him and taught him how to use. At the beginning, he did not show any interest in learning words, but after some time, he then acquired linguistic competences in order to communicate with his keepers. If Kanzi could learn how to communicate through lexigrams and even could communicate with his keepers in short phrases, this means that primates can also learn language and some of its basic structures. Therefore, we humans and primates can learn the ability to communicate with different types of languages. Infants require interaction with their environment after being born in order to acquire, understand, and develop language structures. Infants acquire in their first months of their lives receptive and productive language. As soon as 4 months, infants can recognize differences in speech and start to read lips, matching mouth movements with the corresponding sounds coming from their parents or caregivers. This stage also marks the beginning of receptive language, which is the ability to understand what is said both to and about us. Combined with the interactionist theory of Vygotsky, the child observes interaction between other people, and this behavior develops inside the child. That would mean that he observes communication happening around him and later develops his ability to communicate. After this stage, the receptive language develops through babbling until the productive language skills, which are the ability to produce own words. Following Vygotsky's model, the child will interact with those around him to solve problems. Firstly, the adult interacting with the kid is responsible for leading the child and talking to him, and then the child becomes capable of responding in turn. We acquire language from our surroundings in our first stages of life. First, we see people interact with each other, and then we understand the sounds and attach them to meanings, and then we start to apply them in short sentences. If we are taking into consideration that language implies the use of complex grammar, syntax, and semantics, then the language is only considered as exclusive for humans. Language is a basic instinct. We are born with an innate knowledge of grammar that serves as the basis for language acquisition. According to Noam Chomsky, humans can recognize grammatically correct yet nonsensical phrases, thanks to the universal grammar and the language acquisition device. In other words, language is innate. According to this principle, the majority of human languages follow similar patterns and rules talking about common grammatical traits. These grammatical traits include the ability to combine categories such as verbs, nouns, or pronouns into meaningful and correct phrases. This also means that the child will have the ability to learn just words of its language in order to order them. In humans, the language acquisition device is referred as the part that every human has and that contains the universal grammar. This theory would imply that young children are sensible to the patterns in language thanks to the universal grammar, which is located in every language acquisition device, and that this will allow them to acquire the structures and words of their mother language. In order to develop language, understood as a set of spoken, written, or signed words that we use in order to communicate meaning, young humans are born with a certain undeveloped biological predisposition that we share with other species such as primates. However, language acquisition also requires meaningful interaction with environment and other human beings in order to be developed through a process of first receiving and recognizing, and then understanding and applying. In the case that language is understood as the mastery of the complexities of grammar, The theories of the language acquisition device of Chomsky and other ethicists will help us understand the principles, but not the process of language acquisition.